Hi guys, so today's Fearless Friday video is going to be a tutorial for this look, and this is the more extreme trend of the 1920s. They wore a lot of makeup. The flappers caked it on, and it looked awesome in black and white, but when you put it all like this, it looks a little bit crazy. But yeah, so this is a mix of all the trends, which is like dark eyes, some turquoise, black and grays, very apple-y centered cheeks, and then red lips. So I know we throw it all together and you look crazy, but if you guys want to know how to do it, then just stay tuned. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about skin. This is sort of vastly different from my last tutorial where Coco Chanel kind of introduced the tan, and I wanted to focus on sort of the simplicity of the tan in the last video. This is more the extreme kind of flapper side of the 20s, which a lot of you guys are familiar with. A lot of people think that their faces were whited out, when really their faces were still pale and still matte and still very caked on with the introduction of pancake makeup, but it was actually more of a natural skin tone, so it was really their own really natural skin tone, just a lot of caked on makeup. And obviously they did crazy eye makeup, cheeks, and lips. They really went gung-ho into the makeup, which is really awesome. Okay, so moving into eyebrows. This is the time where eyebrow pencils were created, and women really, especially flappers, especially the more extreme trends, they would actually pluck out all their eyebrow hair. Some of them would, and the eyebrows were really thin and drawn up high, which is exactly what I did. I went ahead and just covered my eyebrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in this one, and the colors that I'm using for this, I'm just using some grays. My hair is kind of reddish tone, but it's still dark, so I can use a little bit. I use a little bit of this gray, kind of brown, and a little bit of this. Just kind of mix it together, and I'm just going to take that on like an angle brush like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and mimic the same shape. Now, I actually have applied this over where my natural eyebrow ends, and pretty much the same shape as my natural brow. I didn't go anything too crazy, so you just want to go ahead and mimic that. Okay, so once eyebrows are done, the next thing you want to focus on is eyes, and they had very dark eyes. They used a lot of eye kohl, which was made up of like goose fat, soot, and like lead. It's kind of really dangerous stuff, again, to put near your eye, but that's what they had and that's what they used. And they really blended it out and smudged it for like a very dramatic eye, so that's exactly what I'm using. And sticking true to the whole kohl, I decided to use Feline Eye Kohl from MAC, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw this just all around my eye, and then I'm going to use a brush to blend it out. And it's kind of just acting it as sort of like a cream product, but it's really going to make a great base for the colors that I'm going to use on top of it. Okay, so once that eye kohl is blended out, it looks like this. The next thing that I'm going to do, just to kind of improve the look, is to use eyeshadow. And I'm going to use black eyeshadow and kind of a mixture of grays as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do the gray. And I'm using just this kind of grayish color from MAC. Any sort of dark charcoal-y kind of eyeshadow will work. And I'm just getting that on my brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this all kind of into that creasy area. Okay, so once we have that gray on there, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go into a solid black eyeshadow. I'm using Carbon from MAC, and I'm going to apply this right onto my lid. Okay, so once the black's on there and everything's blended out, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a color. This is Fiji Mermaid from my Circus collection, and along with black, they also used a lot, like blacks and grays, they also used like turquoise as well. So I figured this was kind of a nice color to just kind of add a little bit of that turquoise vibe, so it's not just a straight black eye look. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this color, and I'm just going to dust this right where that color kind of fades out. And then I'm also just going to apply this right on the lid on top of the black. And it's kind of subtle, but it changes everything to kind of like a dark green, and it looks really pretty, I think, anyway. Okay, so after that's done, the next thing you really want to do is just mascara, and I'm going to go ahead and apply a set of lashes. I'm using very, very thick, dramatic ones, because they did have false eyelashes at the time. They used mascara, as mascara was invented in the 1910s, but they also used false eyelashes, which I actually didn't know until I read about it, because I didn't think they had them really yet, but they did use them. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a set of those and show you how to finish up the rest of this look. Okay, so once you're done with eyes, there will be this like crazy, dramatic turquoise black thing. I love this. Like, I would wear a wearable like without obviously drawing in my eyebrows, but I would wear a wearable version of this any day of the week. So the next thing I'm going to focus on is cheeks. Now, for cheeks, they had all different kinds of blush, but it was pretty much a standard kind of like bright color. They were really into their bright shades then, and blush wasn't actually applied as we apply it now. It was applied more in a circle on the cheek as opposed to blended back to the hairline. I blended mine back a little bit because I have big cheeks, and if I were to just do like the Pikachu cheeks, it looks absolutely horrible. Keep in mind that they really did just leave it as like a circle a lot of the time, so just keep that in mind. But I'm using a mix of these two colors. I'm using this bright red because I literally have no reason ever to use this blush. So anytime that I can and I can kind of get away with it, I will. It's called Frankly Scarlet from MAC, and I don't know why I ever bought it. But anyway, so I'm just taking it on a brush like this, and I'm going to put like very light kind of strokes and then to kind of blend this out. Okay, so moving on to lips. Now, women of the 20s, flappers especially, they really had bright red lips. And I know a lot of pictures it looks black, like dark colors. That's just because when you set it to black and white, any sort of dark red becomes really that gray. So what I actually did is I mixed two OCC lip tars. This looks orange, but it's not. This is Harlot, and this is Vintage, and I'm mixing the two together on just kind of like the back of this thing, and it creates like a reddish color. I really like this, and I feel like it's a good tone for this look. Now, also keep in mind that they really did overline their lips, and they did kind of that sort of like doll heart-shaped. I have a pretty I have a really, prominent, I have a really defined Cupid's bow, so I just kind of want to accentuate that, and they did overdraw their lips a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so once you're done with lips, it will look like this. Keep in mind that all this together is way too much, or is more than I would ever wear, but it will look effective in pictures, in black and white for sure. Yeah, but this is what they wore. They wore a combination of all of this stuff. They put a lot of makeup on their face, and they loved it. Yeah, so I do hope you guys enjoyed this and maybe learned something, and until my next video, I'll talk to all you soon.